Hello, Madrid. Welcome to another episode of Let's Be Real. And today we're going to be previewing the second match day of the season against Oviedo. Actually, it's an away match. And today I've got Kanish with me. But before we go into all that, let's just thank our sponsors for today, which is Talksport. We're officially part of the Talksport Fan Network. So you can find the link in the description to that, and you can just show some love there. And let's just get to the crux of the team. How are you doing, Kanishman? How have you been since the match at the weekend?
Well, games coming thick and fast in La Liga now that the season's begun. I think it's going to be pretty relentless for the players and everyone. But yeah, exciting second match after a kind of an average performance in the first match. I think the team should get some much deserved rest and just regroup and rethink and what lineups and everything. So, going to be a good weekend for football.
Wow, okay, that's interesting. You actually talked about regrouping and rethinking and all that. So, how much of rethinking and regrouping have you seen since the departure of Carlo Ancelotti and the arrival of Xabi Alonso? Like, I don't know, because I felt like the game at the let's not weekend, but the midweek on Tuesday, was a bit more of the same. But you can understand. I don't know. Would you? I mean, I personally was thinking maybe it's about you have a new coach, it takes time to gel. Literally, like the three of the back four, absolutely new players. We have the RWA playing a new role, and stuff like that. So it was a kind of a mix and match. Also factoring the fact that these guys actually haven't played really much. Haven't rested really much from the end of last season to the beginning of this with the Club World Cup and all. But tell me, what was your perception? From this change of era. Like, how have you seen it? Like, maybe just the first game of the season.
I think we discussed it with Sunaid and Sahil in the post-match that this was a very tired performance. The team looks very lethargic right now. They're short of ideas. There's no freshness in midfield. There's no creativity in midfield. I think the new players are also trying to find their footing in the Real Madrid 11. Plus, I think the first match was in the Bernabeu. After a very long time, we played the first match of the season, and we started from home. So I think there was a lot of pressure on the players. You could see it that the players were not probably at their 100%. Maybe because we've not had a good preseason. It's a change in time in football. I think no team this season has had a full-fledged preseason as we have been accustomed to over the past how many ever years we've been watching football. So I think keeping in mind all those changes, Xabi making some important substitutions in that first match, taking Vinny off around the 60th minute, that was clearly he's trying to send a message that this team will be based on meritocracy and not just previous performances. So everyone has to pull up their socks. And I think even the post-match reaction of the public outside the Bernabeu, across the world, every Madrid fan who saw the game, they just had that one thing to say that they do believe Xavi needs to be a bit more cutthroat this season with his decisions. And that is, I think, the main difference from the Ancelotti style of football that we've been accustomed to watching over the past 3 seasons, where, you could see players been given more chances, I think, that they deserve over a period of time. But definitely, this season, I can sense that. And plus, obviously, with all due respect to Oviedo, they're a side who've come back from relegation. I mean, they've had a fairy tale football story in the past couple of seasons, if you see with the return of Santi Cazorla and, them just miraculously coming back to the first division after 24 years, if I'm not wrong. Real Madrid and Oviedo are going to face off against each other in the first division. But with all due respect to the club, I think this will be a time for Xavi to test out some maybe new lineups, maybe try to go and play his style of defense or his style of football that we've been doing. But yeah, I think there should be a win. Should be a comfortable 2-0, 3-0 win. But let's see.
Yeah, actually, that's the thing. You talk about this, and this is a game that actually has, a foregone conclusion written over it on paper. But then this is one thing that, if there's anything I've come to learn about Real Madrid over the past, 5-6 years, is that we make life difficult for ourselves. There's literally nothing as an easy victory for Real Madrid. Even if we win 3-4-0, there's always like a certain labelness there. There's always, a certain, price attached to that. It's an injury or it's a red card or it's, there's just always something, that comes attached to that. But speaking of Oviedo, Real Oviedo is a team that actually, we're in the third, fourth division, and currently they on the fairy tale run, spearheaded by hometown boy, Santi Cazorla, a legend of the Spanish league. Yeah, it's been quite interesting. They lost the first game back in the league, as you mentioned, after 24 years against Villarreal. So they got a midfielder sent off. So they literally played at about an hour of the game, 10 men down and all that. So can you like take us through Real Video? Like, what should as us fans of Real Madrid, like we haven't seen. I mean, the point is when they were the last in the league, but I was 3, 4 years old, so I literally haven't seen or know what to expect from these people. So like, take us through that. Like, what should an average Real Madrid fan expect to see from Real Video?
So what you can expect from Oviedo is a very attacking style of football. I've kind of studied their game in the past few seasons. I think they've been a club who've always been very aspirational when it comes to the topic of playing in the first division. They're a very small city based in a very rural area of Spain, the Asturian province of Spain, if I'm not wrong. Uh, they had 21 wins last season, 14 draws, 9 losses, which is a pretty decent record for a second division team. They scored 56 goals and they conceded 42 goals, which kind of goes on to show that they rely more on their attacking than their defense. But having said that, they've kept 16 clean sheets last season. So, defensively, they're not a bad side. They're not a side that you can take lightly. But they're also not a side which will kind of, try to play the low block and just sit back and just hope that they can maybe scrape a goal here and there and maybe get a win or just, play for a point. They're definitely there to play for 3 points. It's at home for them. And, it's a very good stadium. It's a 30,000 capacity stadium. It's one of the biggest in the rural provinces of Spain. They're all pumped up. They're all charged. They had 16 goals last year, interesting fact, from set pieces. So I think, set piece defending on the match day is going to be extremely important for Real Madrid. You cannot take them lightly. 16 set pieces is probably as good as, maybe Real Madrid was last season. We were also pretty, like, maybe half decent when it comes to set pieces. They had the 12th highest goals scored per match, which means to say that even in the second division, they were not the best attackingly, but they've always tried to play a free-flowing kind of a football. They don't rely more on defense. They will try to take their chances, and that's how they kind of back their team. And I think Santi Cazorla is obviously their club legend there. It's his boyhood club. He will play against Real Madrid with a lot of vigor, I feel. He didn't feature much in the first match against Villarreal, as you rightly pointed out. He came on pretty much in the dying embers of the game. The striker Rondon missed a penalty. I think that was a very, very sketchy penalty to start with. But, I think he did not take his chances there. Who knows if he would have scored that penalty, the story could have been different against Villarreal. They've had some decent signings. They have this player called Oyer Luengo, who is a very, very good defender. He had the most tackles last year in the second division. They have players in Lucas Dendoncker, Eric Bailly, who they've procured over the summer. So these are first division players whom we've seen play for Manchester United, Aston Villa, respectively, or rather the other way around. So I think, overall, it's going to be an interesting challenge for Xabi Alonso's team. They're playing a side like Oviedo. That second match, it's never easy. As you very rightly pointed out, you cannot take it for granted. Madrid has this habit of suffering throughout games, as you very rightly pointed out. So no easy wins here, but the fans can definitely expect an open-ended game.
Yeah, Kanish, that's a really good summary of what the Real Oviedo looks like, and talks about they've added like experienced players, and you also talk about like how they've performed also in the last divisions across the past 2 seasons. That's something that's quite interesting. I always worry about this kind of teams, especially teams that like for instance, like when you look at for instance a team like Real Valladolid, like they always go down, they come back up, they go down, they come back up. So you kind of like know them as an element, them as a team, like the element of surprise isn't that much. For a team like Real Oviedo, like they've been away for 24 years, like they've bounced here and there all around. So like, and then now they're coming from the second division to the first division. So you're not really sure if they're going to maintain that style of play, if the new, experienced players that they've brought in is going to dedicate like, a shift away from what they've done. So I always feel like there's always, an element of surprise with this kind of things, but this is, my personal feeling. I mean, I'm not being paid thousands and millions of euros, every month, every year to to deal with this. So that's the job of the coaching staff and and Xabi Alonso. So we hope at least they can be able to take the match and give Real Oviedo the respect that they deserve, because like they're in the league, right? So I hope that our boys aren't just gonna go there and have a snooze fest, and if that happens, like then it has the potential to become banana skin.
Interesting that you mentioned that for one point that I missed. That coach Franco. Veljko Paunovic, if I'm not wrong, Veljko Paunovic, he was an athletic player in his playing days. He's won a Copa del Rey with Atletico Madrid. He's been a part of their club. He's also, I think, if I'm not wrong, he coached their youth setup or something like that. He's been involved with the club, and he's been an Atletico player. He's played 20, 30 odd matches for Atletico, so he will be knowing what it is to play against Real Madrid, coming from their cross city rivals. So I think, I mean, we are journalists. It's our job to kind of make matches inside matches inside matches. But I think, from my perspective, Alonso should not overthink it. He should just go in with whoever he's got. He should give Oviedo the respect, and he should start the players, who he thinks are going to create a lot of impact. Definitely for me, Franco Mastrantuono has to start. I think what we saw in the first match, he brings that freshness in midfield. He has to start. I think with Arda Güler, it'll be very interesting to see how they kind of line up. But definitely, I don't know if he's going to start Vinny or not, but I hope he does. And maybe, this is the match where Vinny kind of scores and gets back his goal scoring form.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a very bold statement. Like starting Masterton, like after the cameo we saw, of course, a very promising and lively cameo, and also I think one thing you always have to talk about also is the fact that he wants to get the responsibility, and that's the thing I love about creative players. Like there are certain players who kind of hide away from getting the ball and stuff like that. But then you see this guy, he's 18 years old, coming from South America. Like he's there, like, nah, just give me the ball. He's constantly asking to get the responsibility and all that. And I think, I don't know what's going to happen with Vini. Vini's form has really, really dipped. But then the question now becomes is like, you take him out of the firing line and you put him back later on, or like do you just keep playing him till he comes back into form? I don't know, man. Just take me through what you think about Vinicius, because like I feel like it's a very sensitive topic among Real Madrid fans, because I think like we saw Vini grow into the player that he is. Like we know what Vini was in the past. Like literally, defenders just allow him to pass because they knew that there is no end goal, to the point where like Vini has been awarded the FIFA Best Player of the Year. So the point now becomes like, how do we go from here to there? Yeah, I know there are a lot of off-field events. The arrival of Kylian Mbappe, the issue of not winning the Ballon d'Or now becomes the issue of the contract, the lack thereof, and something like that. Well, yeah, just take us through that. Like, what's been that evolution, or let's say reverse evolution of Vinicius Junior?
Look, I think the best of players go through a bad patch. I think just keeping it very pragmatic and very real right now. I don't think we should definitely criticize him. He's our boy. He's grown up in Real Madrid. He joined Real Madrid in 2018. It's 2025. He's been a part of the club for 7 years now. That's a long term commitment from his end as well. He loves Real Madrid. I mean, you can like him, you can dislike him, you can be angry at him, but one thing you cannot argue on is that Vinicius Junior bleeds Real Madrid. He is Real Madrid through and through. I know there's some speculation about his contract, all the off-field talks that are going on. Maybe it's getting into his head. He's still pretty young. He's still 25. I mean, you got to give it to him. It seems like he's been playing for Madrid for ages now, but he's still 25. He's young. So these things definitely will affect you, even if you're like a professional. And when he's a top professional, he takes care of his body. He'll be the first to come to practice, the last one to leave. He has that work ethic in him. I just very strongly feel that it is just a matter of time before he finds his best footing. I think, with Mbappe coming in last year, I think Vinicius was the franchise player for Real Madrid after Karim Benzema left. But definitely that player right now has to be Kylian Mbappe. He has been he used to be Madrid's top transfer priority. And finally, when Madrid got him last year, I think, even I don't see any ego battle going on there, but, maybe it's just, who's boss here, basically. And, that thing kind of can either work for you or it can work against you. In Vinny's case, unfortunately, last year, it has worked against him. He's not been able to, cement his place as the poster boy for Real Madrid, the prince of Real Madrid, as you would like to call him, or like Ronaldo's heir or something like that. He also wears the number 7 because the club feels that he is Cristiano Ronaldo's heir at Real Madrid. However, I just feel this season, just give him some time to get back to his footing. Best of players go through this patch. We've seen it with better players than Vinicius in the past. But I feel I'm a very optimistic person about his form. I strongly feel that Vinicius Junior this season will definitely perform much better than last year. And it's just a matter of time before he finds his footing.
I have a comment here from Ashik. Ashik was saying, Vini has plateaued. I don't believe he can go any higher than he has already gone. Vini hasn't given any indication of even trying to grow.
I do understand Ashik's frustration. Thank you for the question, Madhu. I do understand your frustration. We all expect a lot out of Vinicius and the only reason we expect that from him is because he has shown us in the past what he's capable of. I completely agree with the fact last season he plateaued, but you don't judge a player who's been given the FIFA the best player of the year by just one season. I feel that would be a bit too harsh. If you just take out last season, the season before that, he was phenomenal. He was scoring goals for fun. He has significantly improved his game over the past 3 or 4 seasons. So just keeping the positives in mind here. I feel Madrid should persist with him, give him more chances, try to maybe get him back in form. But there should be like a time limit to that. It should not be like he's just taking it for a ride and he's just absolutely playing every match without any output. I also don't agree with that. So I do feel give him the right amount of time to grow, give him the right amount of space to get back to his original form or like his best form and settle under this Alonso side. And I definitely feel if that kind of clicks, which I hope it does, Vinicius Junior will be an asset for Real Madrid this season.
Okay, so I'm just going to read a couple of comments and then I will also give my own commentary on that. So Sunil was actually saying that so many people want Vini out, but I feel the competition between Vini and Rodrigo will push them to be better. And then Ashik was saying he's in the first in line among those. So he's referring to the fans who want Vini out. I will admit it, I am loyal to my club, not to the player. So here's my 2 cents. I personally think that Vinicius Junior and Kylian Mbappe do not coexist in the same team. This is just my view. My personal view is that in the long term, you're talking about time. And I think, just to rephrase what you're saying, but like, just cut me if you think I'm wrong. Basically, what you're saying is that these guys need time to develop a chemistry and then, move along. I get what you're saying. Like, you can't judge this player on one season. You're getting another superstar who's coming in, occupying the same spaces. So they need time to, gel and understand and all that. I just don't see it, man. They can be 2 alphas on a team. And it's obvious that Real Madrid has invested in Kylian Mbappe, whether we fans like it or not, as the alpha of this team. When Cristiano was there, when Gareth Bale was there, when Karim Benzema was there, we knew who was the number one. There was no even doubt. No one had any issues. When Gareth Bale came, he knew his place. You understand? So for now, it's like the club has invested in Kylian Mbappe. Do I support the idea? I don't know. That's a whole conversation for another day. But the point is, it's obvious that the club has placed Kylian Mbappe as the poster boy of this team, as the it guy. So for me, because of that, I do feel like either Mbappe has to leave or Vini has to leave for this team to thrive. I just don't see a way where both of them in the long term consistently, if you want to play as a team, which is what Alonso has consistently mentioned. We have a group of individually brilliant players. But how many times over the past 4 years under Carlo Ancelotti have we actually played as a team? The first Champions League, it was Benzema's hat trick. I think he had 3 hat tricks on the bounce or 2 hat tricks on the bounce, a brace, and it's insane. Like, you can't expect that. We've seen what Vini has done. In previous years, we saw Rodrigo's impact. We saw all the impact that these players have had in individual moments. But as team, across the past 4 years, we won 2 Champions League, but there was never a single point in time where we are the best team in the competition, not even in Europe, in the competition we play. Let's not forget like the superheroics we saw from Thibaut Courtois. Like, that's something that will never be matched in the Champions League final, ever. Like, that's the ceiling of goalkeeping. That's the absolute, so like what I'm trying to say is like, it has taken all these gigantic efforts from these phenomenal players to reach this level. But if now you're saying you're moving in a different direction, which is what the club seem to indicate, like by what they've done with Xabi Alonso, is like you want to move in a direction of more of a team build rather than, a group of individuals, which is what Real Madrid has always been. Of course, we know the Galacticos and all that. But if you keep talking about a team, I don't see how Vinicius Junior and Kylian Mbappe coexist. I feel like Rodrigo I understand that Vini's ceiling is higher than that of Rodrigo. I know, I agree. Vini is the it guy. But I just feel like the club made a decision, a conscious decision, either good or bad, to bring Kylian Mbappe. So I think because of that, you kind of almost stunted, and it goes back to the plateau that Ashik was talking about. You have created, a ceiling, a peak for Vinicius Junior that he cannot go past. Because to go past that, you will have to overtake Kylian Mbappe, which is something that has been mechanically engineered to not happen in such a way. So I really don't know what the end goal will be with Vinicius Junior at Real Madrid, but I just personally do not see how him and Kylian Mbappe coexist in a successful team. We might go on to win trophies and all that, but then I just don't see us winning in the context of a team. I see us winning in the context that we have won in the past 4 years. Individual moment of brilliances, ISO football, you have moments, you have this, you have that, you go through. Because the point is whether we like it or not, we literally have an 11 that will almost start for every team in the world.
You raise a very fair point, Farouk. I do get your point that, there are currently two alphas in a team. And as you very rightly put, two alphas cannot exist in a team. But my 2 cents on this is, I think it's a lot to do with the player also. Because Vinicius Junior right now, if you see exit options for him, what are the exit options? Like, no club you go, wherever you go, no matter where you go, it's not a Real Madrid. He started his career at Real Madrid, so he's been accustomed to playing for the best club in the world from the very beginning of his career. So I think for him as a player, I'm just speaking about Vinny as a player right now, as a player that I love. For him to leave Real Madrid, maybe go anywhere else, will not be beneficial to his career. He's plateauing, and he'll anyway plateau after that. You'll never see the best of him. I personally feel Vinny should take this up as a challenge. It's fine if you will never be able to overtake Mbappe. That's fine. Deal with it. Like, I mean, just stay with his side. Stay by his side. Become like the most fiery duo. Become another Karim Benzema. Become another Benzema, basically. There's nothing stopping that. I mean, that can happen. It has happened in the past. There have been, if you remember the great Man United team in the 2000s, there were many egos there. Maybe not every player was the it player, but there was a lot of egos in that team. And a lot of it has also got to do with the manager. That the manager eventually has to come and tell them that I am the boss. You may score 50 goals for me in the season, but I am the boss of this team. And what I say kind of goes. But I don't think Xabi Alonso is like a Alex Ferguson kind of a personality. He's quiet, he's reserved that way. He will not be that vocal with his opinion. But I feel if that is a problem, and if in the next maybe 3 or 4 match days, we do see those gaping holes, then I think it's definitely up to the manager. He has to, kind of talk to his players and say that, look, you may be individually the best players in the world, but at the end of the day, this is Xabi Alonso's team. So they do as he says.
Yeah, actually, to that, like actually Sinead was saying, Mbappe and Vini can coexist. If one of them play on the right and we get a proper 9, or give Gonzalo a fair chance. I think that's just a point. Like here, it now becomes the fact that, okay, like you're asking Vinicius, who, by the way, is asking for a contract in the reins of Cristiano Ronaldo to play on the right, which is his position that he doesn't favor, which means that he's accepting that he's the B player in this, what's it called? Like, Mbappe is the A option and Vini automatically accept that he is a B option. I think, if Vini is willing to accept that, I don't know if he's willing to accept that. If he's willing to accept that, then of course, it's something. Getting a striker, giving Gonzalo Garcia this. I don't know, honestly. Like, do I want, to put Gonzalo Garcia if I have a semi-final against, Man City or Liverpool on the line, and the option I have is Gonzalo Garcia? I'm not too confident. I'm not too comfortable with that, So that's also something else as well. So I think it's all of this, that you just have to look into this, and you have to hope that, as you're saying, like that the personality, the coaching acumen of Xabi Alonso can, as you're referencing, to someone like Sir Alex, like authoritatively, create a way that like these two players can coexist and find some synergy, like some chemistry, as you were saying earlier. I do hope so. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a conversation that we'll continue to have. I think down the line of the season, like
I think this is going to be a recurring theme for this season. Yeah. I feel, I mean, we were doing a pre-match for Real Oviedo and Real Madrid, for God's sake, but this has just somehow become a Vinicius future conversation. But yeah, I think that is a big issue with the club right now, and I think it needs to be addressed in a very mature way, in a very Real Madrid kind of a way. There does not need to be so much brouhaha about this issue. I think it needs to be sorted behind closed doors. And I think the players are impeccable professionals, Kylian Mbappe and Vinny Junior. So both of them love Real Madrid. That is something you cannot take away from them. They both bleed Real Madrid. So I think, if the interest is common, if the end goal is common, I'm sure, calmer minds and smarter minds will kind of prevail, and they will find a solution for this battle.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. Anyways, like, let's move back to Real Oviedo and let's, talk about, already you started to talk about the expected lineups and what we want to see. So I'm just going to start, with Thibaut in goal. I think that's set in stone. We have no doubt about that. So what do you see as the back four?
I would like to see the same back four as what started in the first match against Osasuna. I think there's no because the defense was our strongest suit in that match. The defense looked more solid than the midfield and attack. So I don't think there is any reason. I know Rudiger is back. I was reading the reports. He's back. He's fit. But you can definitely bring him on in the second half if there is a need. Or I don't see any particular reason to change the back four.
So what would be your take on the whole Dan Carvalho situation?
I think it's honestly up to Zabi right now. If he wants to start Trent, if he wants to start with a more attacking outlook, because Oviedo will give you those chances to put in the long balls and the crosses, but there needs to be someone centrally to take advantage of those chances. So I feel Gonzalo Garcia should start this match. I will go with that, and I feel Mastantuono should start this match to give that more attacking output with Arda Güler in midfield, and with Trent playing from the right, starting from the right rather. I think if that can maybe give us a bit more dynamism in goal, maybe can put us 1-0 or 2-0 up in the first half, and then can definitely sorry.
Yeah, so now basically what you're saying is that you're starting with Carreras, you're having Trent, you're having Dean Huijsen, right? And then you have Militao as your back four, more or less. Yeah. So now we go to our midfield, and I because I heard you mentioned a lot of names, so that's why I just want us to put, let's just pronounce the lineup as a whole. Because I heard you say Mastantuono, I'm hearing you say Gonzalo Garcia, I heard you say Arda Güler, so I'm now to think how do we fit all of this into a player of 11? We've already talked about 5 players, we have 6 positions left, and I'm assuming maybe. So just tell me who's going to be your midfield though.
Tchouaméni.
Yeah.
Valverde.
Yeah.
Mastantuono.
Tchouaméni, Valverde, Mastantuono. So wow, Mastantuono playing as a midfielder. That's quite interesting.
Or maybe you can keep it as a 4-2-3-1, or you can have that dynamism there. But I don't want to see him in midfield. I'm not exactly going on exact 4-3-3 formation. I'm just saying who I would like to see play.
Yeah, so basically you can have a double pivot with Tchouaméni and Fede Valverde. And then you can have him in that 8-10 role. Mastantuono, you were saying, right? More or less. Yeah. I get you. So then what was going to be your front 3 then? Or 2+1 if you want to go that way?
Güler, Mbappe, Vinicius.
Güler,
and maybe you can bring in Gonzalo Garcia later in the game to maybe have a more attacking impact.
I see. But I think
if he wants to, just for the sake of it, it's Real Oviedo, maybe start Gonzalo Garcia as well. No harm in that, because he's good aerially. He can take advantage of Trent's long balls and his attacking output. You can see it from that point.
I agree with that, actually. So the point now becomes but I think just one thing I'll say is that I feel the club is more into Arda Güler playing as a deep line playmaker than Mastantuono. So I think Mastantuono is always going to play as an attacker more or less, and we're going to have Arda more in the middle of the park. And I think that's where my big question mark is. Honestly, I love Arda as well a lot, but I don't know if he's ready to take that step. But I just think Arda is going to play with Tchouaméni and Fede, and then we're going to have Mastantuono if he does start. But I don't think Mastantuono starts. Actually.
I don't think he's going to start for sure. But it's just an optimist in me, because he was fantastic in the first game. And you should reward that kind of performance with a start.
I think,
one more point would be just a final point on this. Games like Real Oviedo are opportunities for a team to hit and to basically have a hit and trial experiment kind of a thing. Because you cannot make an experiment in a game, say, against Sevilla or Athletic Bilbao or Villarreal, some of the tougher La Liga opponents. Definitely not in a Barcelona or an Atletico Madrid match. So, these are the kind of matches which kind of, give you that second or third option. And you can, maybe reference later in the season that, okay, maybe we tried something in the Oviedo match. It worked. So maybe, it can work right now. So these are the matches where you have that opportunity, I feel. To maybe think outside the box. Yeah.
That's it. Actually, for me personally, I just feel I don't know what's going on with Rodrigo. I just feel the disrespect is just insane. Honestly, the disrespect that Rodrigo is facing at this club is insane. The point is, if you're going to sell him, just sell him. It's really unfair that, Rodrigo sits on the bench and literally Gonzalo Garcia and, Mastantuono gets on and, Rodrigo is still there. I kind of feel and this is a club that actually says they value I don't know, seniority a lot. So it sends the wrong message, especially if Rodrigo is still at the club, come September 1st. Like, so then what happens? I just feel like, yeah, Rodrigo needs to be brought back into the fray of this team, and I think also he could be a player that could help unlock certain things, especially when stuff happens. But yeah, let's just see what a bit of the comments saying. Like, Sunil was actually talking about the fact that the midfield is a big issue. We can't create much when teams go into low block. And Ashik was talking about like Guler should never play in the wing. He struggled in the wing and he doesn't prefer that. He prefers the midfield and what's he called? Zabi prefers to keep him there. And Sunil was saying like actually Arda in the midfield is something that needs a lot of faith. He needs to be unleashed. And I think that's one thing that actually like Xabi Alonso to his credit has mentioned, that he has given Arda the chance to make mistakes and to know that it's fine to make mistakes. So basically he's learning on the job. He's being trained on the job, But then the problem now becomes like, when you're in a pressure cooker environment like Real Madrid, like, do you have the time to be trained on the job? Because we've seen what's happened with, what's he called? Our center back. I forgot his name. The young center back.
Asensio, Raul Asensio.
Exactly. We've seen what happened with Raul Asensio. Literally a couple of bad games, and right now, like, I don't know what is Asensio specking out there. Because I think if Xabi Alonso could even play a formation whereby Mendy is a centre back, whereby Dani Carvajal is a centre back, and Asensio is on the bench. You understand? Like, that's how much like he's falling off the pecking order, and that's how much those couple of mistakes have hurt him. But it's normal because he's also learning on the job, right? So I mean, there is no one who is expecting Asensio to be a world beater. That's the thing. But like, I feel that's the thing about Real Madrid. Like, how much leeway do you actually have? Yeah, we say you have leeway, but how much actually is it? To what extent do you keep that? But yeah, I really want to see Rodrigo, in this game. And but I don't know.
I think Rodrigo should feature in the game at some point. I mean, it will be very shocking if he doesn't feature against the likes of Real Oviedo. I mean, come on, he's been one of your best players in the past 3-4 seasons. So, and I just do feel he should be at Madrid. There should be a solution to this. I don't know what that solution is because I think we're a bit crowded there, and I think it's just a big difference of opinion and a manager's liking. He walks into any team in the world as a starting attacker. So, if not Real Madrid, if we are definitely seeing the end of the road for Rodrigo, I do hope he goes to some other club and does phenomenally well, which he honestly deserves to. But I think that's for a later podcast. But let's see. I think a lot of speculation. I do feel Xabi will try a few things. Maybe we are completely wrong here. Maybe he sticks with the same 11. Maybe he makes a few changes. I think these are matches where you kind of experiment, you kind of test out new things, new fresh ideas, so that you can reference them at a later point in the season where you are kind of looking for ideas and you're running out of them. So I think that will be interesting to see.
Yeah, actually, that makes sense. Well, anyways, so let's slowly wrap things up, and let's just thank people in the comments. We had Sinead, we had Ashik, we also have like Borman as well. Yeah, thank you guys for giving us points to to chat about and going back and forth. We really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, and also shout out to our partners on Instagram, Real Madrid Committee. So just check them out. You can find the links to that down below, and also check us out on Instagram, on Twitter and all that. Subscribe. Listen, drop a like. Also click the bell button so when we have something planned or something new drops, you'll be alerted. And you can find the link to all our socials also below in the description. And also shout out, to Talksport. We're officially, part of the fan network of Talksport. So you can find the links down below in the description as well. So check that all out. And actually, I noticed we missed something. Actually, we always do a prediction. So I don't know, Kanish, do you want to predict some scores? What do you expect to see?
Okay, my first prediction actually my second. I was way off in my first prediction. I think I predicted a 2-0. This match, I do see Oviedo scoring. They're good in attack, but I do see Real Madrid scoring more than one goal. So I'm going to say 3-1 to Real Madrid.
Okay.
Mbappe, Vini, and Fede Valverde scoring.
Oh,
and
nice.
Let me just put it out there in the universe. Fede Valverde to score an outside the box banger.
Okay, guys, you heard that. Now this is a tip. Probably just put your money on that. And if it doesn't pan out,
you never know.
To hold responsible. Yeah.
How about you? Actually, what's your prediction?
For me, I'd go for a 3-0 victory. I do think like we can keep them at bay. I think we should be able, to get like a 3-0. Even if it's not a comfortable victory, I do think we should be able to like have a 3-0 victory for us. And with that, I don't know if you have any other points. We can, wrap up things. We're just
I'm
right
good.
on time.
I'm excited for Sunday. Let's see what the team has in store for us.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, then. Until next time, we sign out by saying Hala Madrid.
Hala